Shalom, Kal Halal, Wahawad, La Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushua, Ba'asham Rachakwadash, Daban Sanel, the apostles of the great millstone who rule well, who have taught us his knowledge. Honest salutations to you fellow laborers out there that's doing the work in true sincerity. Shalom to you. Shalom to the few that believe as well. The brother Hardar coming at you with another lesson. I'm just going into the inflation in this particular video. For those of you who don't know what inflation is, I got some info pulled up on it. Inflation that's going to describe exactly what inflation is. And so, Lord willing, this video is edifying to those of you that may listen and tune in. I got a quick video I'm gonna play because the biggest thing around the world, globally, I mean, not just over here in Babylon, which is America, globally, is inflation. And there's been a lot of uproar and protests over inflation in many countries. Most countries have protests about inflation right now. It's no different right here in Babylon, so-called America. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it.
And coming back to Fed now here, minutes of US Federal Reserve Bank are out, and according to records, policymakers are worried that sky-high inflation is not going away anytime soon. They also stressed their readiness to continue raising interest rates to prevent any inflation which is going to get higher, even if that slowed down the US economy. Federal Reserve last month had implemented its most aggressive interest rate hike in nearly 30 years. Now, after consumer inflation surged to 8.6% in May, highest in 4 decades, the minutes are showing that officials were concerned that inflation pressures had yet to show signs of abating. They also made clear that officials do not plan to let up their efforts to cool economy. The group also noted that a willingness to move interest rates as high as needed to bring inflation to 2% target of Fed is possible. The rate hike last month came as soaring prices left millions of Americans struggling to make ends meet. It sent President Joe Biden's approval ratings plunging as well. The report said there remains a risk that inflation will continue to accelerate because of uncertainties surrounding Russian invasion of Ukraine and COVID-19 lockdowns in China. Inflation in US, which was already on rise due to clogged supply chains after pandemic, got dramatically worse after Russia invaded Ukraine in late February. US gasoline prices topped $5 a gallon for the first time, though they have since retreated slightly. Fed's aggressive push to curb inflation has raised fears that US is heading towards a recession, but here's an interesting observation that what recession was.
You see, cost of things are going off the Richter scale. You hear in the news clip that people can barely make ends meet. And that's telling. That's telling because the scriptures say in the book of Jeremiah 51, the 51st chapter, that Babylon cannot be healed. And that's including the economy over here in Babylon the Great, because the US dollar is still the world reserve currency, even though countries have been, imposing their currency to be used. Like you had, I'll give you an example like Russia. Russia had basically told all the countries that they do business with, especially those European countries, that if you want to purchase anything from them, you have to convert your money into rubles. And so, that threatens to eliminate the dollar. All right. If you know anything about the U.S. dollar, like I said, it's been the world reserve currency. Anytime someone have threatened the U.S. currency, which is the U.S. dollar, they always been met with war. And this time around, being that it's Russia, the risk of war is very high. That's why you see the U.S. rallying up its NATO allies, and we know that we at that not second, but that third woe, which is a World War III. So it's all a build up anyway. But just to make the point, the ruble has threatened the U.S. dollar greatly because a lot of European countries depend on Russia, and with them not depending on America, that's a big deal because their money's going towards the ruble, which is a Russian currency. So it says from Investopedia, what is inflation? It says inflation is the decline of purchasing power of a given currency over time. A quantitative estimate of the rate at which the decline in purchasing power occurs can be reflected in the increase of an average price level of a basket of selected goods and services in an economy over some period of time. The rise in prices, which is often expressed as a percentage, means that a unit of currency effectively buys less than it did in prior periods. Inflation can be contrasted with deflation, which occurs when the purchasing power of money increases and prices decline. So, it's funny that it pretty much rawly just tell you what inflation is, and it also brought up deflation, which is the opposite. But when inflation occurs, he gets his whatever he buys, as far as his goods that he's buying, that he's going to sell to the people, he gets them at the same rate, but the price that is, mandated for the consumer to pay for the goods, even though the goods, far as the bulk goods that he gets to sell haven't changed, but the consumer pay rate has changed because maybe a shortage, only a few left of certain goods, so Esau inflates it. All right, but he still gets his profits one way or another, and then by inflating increases his profits because when it deflates, you've paid all this money. He collected all this money off of inflation, but then in deflation, the purchasing power may go back up. It may increase again, right, during deflation, but yet and still, through all the inflation and deflation, like I said, the amount of money he paying to get the goods, it haven't changed. All right, only the consumer purchasing power have changed. All right, so you can't go to the store and get let's see, well, I'll use example for a jug of milk. All right, now for each jug of milk, it may be maybe $2.50. All right, within the I don't know, he's selling probably so many gallons, right? In the store, they may be $5-6, when originally it was probably $3.50 to $4. But because of inflation, it went up to $5 to $6. All right, he's still getting that same jug of milk, probably $2.50. All right, $2.50. And then once it deflates, all right, usually when things deflate over here in Babylon, usually it stays the same as far as the price. Excuse me. You hardly ever see price going down. All right. Let's read some of these key takeaways, and I'm gonna get to scriptures. It says, inflation is the rate at which the value of a currency is falling, and consequently, the general level of prices for goods and services is rising. Inflation is sometimes classified into three types: demand pull inflation, cost push inflation, and built-in inflation. The most commonly used inflation indexes are the consumer price index and the wholesale price index. Like I was kind of going into wholesale price, the $2.50 for the milk, and consumer price index, which would be the cost, $4 or $5, $4 to $6 pretty much, which it used to be the high end. All right. Inflation can be viewed positively or negatively depending on the individual viewpoint and rate of change, which is not a good thing at all. Inflation is it's going to hurt the consumer, always. It says those with tangible assets like property or stock commodities may like to see some inflation as that raises the value of their assets. Yeah, because people that have money, all right, if you're a stockholder or you own property, or any tangible assets, usually you have money. It doesn't affect people that have money or wealthy. When you're poor, that's when it affects you the most. Like I said, the consumers, the main ones that are poor, or poor people are the main consumers. I should say that. All right. So let's go to the scriptures. All right, let's go into the KJV 1611. Because you have to think about it. The U.S. dollar isn't even backed by anything. All right, which that's a false weight to begin with. And what does the scripture say about false weights? Let's go to that real quick. Proverbs 11 and verse 1, it says, "A false balance is an abomination unto the Lord, but a just weight is his delight." And the weights within, the weight within Esau's economy is just totally a false balance, because the U.S. dollar is not backed by any gold or silver, which is real currency. All right, you would measure that by weights. Just like in ancient times, you would measure gold and silver. So many shekels of silver, was worth a certain amount of weight in gold, and so on and so forth, man. You look up ancient economies that were backed by gold and silver. It was a better way to do business because, first of all, it's valuable metals. All right, gold and silver is valuable. Excuse me. Gold and silver have always been valuable since the beginning of time. All right, since man was put up on earth, it has always been used as currency because it doesn't decrease in value. Even though today, to buy gold and silver, like you would try to convert or buy gold and silver with U.S. dollars, it would cost so many U.S. dollars to buy a decent amount of gold and weight. All right, gold and silver. I'm sorry, which it shouldn't be. All right. Hence, you have the U.S. dollar. For a time, you had gold and silver, especially silver, and that was discontinued because of the Federal Reserve. All right, that's something to look into as well. The Jekyll and Hyde, when they converted, the U.S. currency into the U.S. dollar, when it was basically created by the Small Hatters. That's something I read history, to get into. Pretty much, it goes right into how the dollar was created, the way they use the U.S. dollar, basically the purchasing power, all that stuff. And it's basically deceitful riches, all right, to say the least. It's deceitful riches. Now, I want to go to the book of Leviticus. Let's go to Leviticus 19. And, excuse me. Leviticus 19 and 36, it says, just balances, just weights, a just ephah, and a just hin shall ye have. I am Yahweh your power, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. All right, which is Mizraim. So this is what the Lord told us. All right, about just balances, just weights, ephah and hin. All right, this going into how you conduct business, and you don't use usury among each other as well. And the scripture speaks about usury. All right, which Esau, he heavily gets into usury. That's his main thing, usury. All right, but also, heavy taxes that are laid upon people. Like I said, when things inflate, who it affects the most? The poorest of society. So in the news clip, they said what? Most people can barely make ends meet. That's what the news anchor said, and it's understandable, knowing that inflation is steadily rising. All right, because this economy is not done by just balances and just weights. All right, it's done by usury. All right, and fraud. All right, basically the fraud, you're keeping the people back by fraud. Let's go to that, because even on the job, right, you work so many hours to have certain money, so you can maintain a certain living, right? But when that money that you bring home, when that money has little purchasing power, and you have to basically go out and work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, because why? The purchasing power of your currency has hit a low point. But yet and still, by putting inflation or increased taxes upon the money, what's that's doing? Steadily bringing in riches to the one that control the currency. You see? The book of James 5 and 1, it says, Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl, for your misery that shall come upon you. Yeah, the rich men, you Edomites, man. You Jakes, man, you man, you're not even in the conversation. All you rich Israelites, guys like, this bald head nigga Jordan, that little money you got is pocket change to the elites of Esau. The ugly dame Oprah. Y'all money is more money compared to the elites of Esau. It says your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten. And you could tell by inflation, or what is inflation, that the riches are corrupted in this world. And they've been saying all along for especially the past couple of years, that the rich and poor gap have become even greater. So the gulf between being rich and being poor, that gulf or gap has been increased significantly, because you can clearly tell who's rich and who's poor, and there's really hardly any in between right now. Okay, the old middle class, hey, that's really obsolete, especially the last 2 years and some months. That have become apparent that if you on the lower side, it's going to show. If you're on the higher side, it's going to show as far as of wealth. It says, verse 3, your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be witness against you. excuse me, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. Excuse me. That's the reason why Esau have caused inflation. These are the last days of Esau's kingdom. With this war situation, the war situation have caused, a shortage of a lot of goods and commodities that you would normally buy. All right, whether it's grain, gas, any other food, or whatever you buy, household products, what have you. Especially those important goods, they all have gone up. All right, meat have gone up, eggs. All right, things are going up significantly. All right, wait me 1 second. Let me clear my nose. It's like I had to blow my nose. So let me read verse 3 again. I left off on verse 3. It says, your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. You have heaped treasure together for the last days. And as I was saying before I had to blow my nose, that inflation is causing Esau to get, more of your money. And he's heaping all of that up for the last days of his kingdom, because he knows his kingdom is at an end. And so he has hope that at the end of his kingdom, he'll survive with his money and his riches. But once your kingdom go down, you go down, Esau. All right. The scriptures tell you that he has swallowed down riches, but he shall vomit. Matter of fact, let's get that. Let's go to the book of Job. Job 20 and 15, it says, he hath swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. The Most High shall cast them out of his belly. So the riches that you're trying to keep, you're not going to, rise back up with your riches that you've hidden, all right, for these last days. All right, it's over for you, Esau. All right. Back in James chapter 5 and verse 4, it says, behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth. Yeah, and the laborers, that reap down your fields, which is all the workers, especially our people, because we're the main workers in this society. All right, we're the main workers in this society. You look up statistics about, because Esau talk shit about Jake being on welfare and shit, but there's more Edomites on welfare than Israelites. And for us to be so many, or roughly 35 to 40% of Israelites not working, that's talking about the so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, that's not working. But roughly 60 to 65% of us is working. So that's a majority of us. When you got over 52%, 53% of Edomites not working. So who are the main laborers? Like right now, this is a big agriculture season. Spring to fall. Who you think reaping down the fields? A lot of the so-called Mexicans, which are the tribe of Issachar. All right. You even have some of Zebulun in there. All right. You have some, a few of them in there, but for the most part, it's Issachar that's doing the farming. All right, reaping down the fields. I know him. I'm real cool with Issachar like that. Like I know him on the personal level. All right, where I got family friends of ours, they own a farm, and they're trying to buy land, and it's hard for them to buy land because they can't get a loan. All right, they can't get a loan. They have to get loans through their children, and hope to make it back. And then another thing is because that's the only one I know that own their own farm, they own acres, right? The other ones I know, like I'll give one example. Another example, he manages a farm for this Edomite. He make pretty decent money, but he's over all the other Israelites that work on the farm, and they have like certain incentives, like to get them to come up during the work season. Like they get like work visas to come across U.S. Mexico border, come up here to work, but then they have to put their money together to share a hotel room. So the hotel rooms are packed right now where I live at. You got about 4 or 5 so-called Mexicans to a room. And they put their money together and buying the room, sharing beds, sleeping on the floor, just so they can make money and go back down to Mexico and spend it, because it's more, the purchasing power of the U.S. dollar is more in Mexico. They have to convert it to pesos. All right. Excuse me. So that's keeping the laborers back by fraud. And when you hear a lot of even Issachar, man, Issachar complained about wages. They complain about wages. All right, and the average person who live over in America complain about wages. Because why? They realize that everything is inflating, and that things cost a lot more. And they can't afford it for the most part. It says, "Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them have reaped, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth." So the Lord of armies, that's the Most High. You don't think the Most High hears people complaining? You don't think he see our affliction? Just like when we was in the old Egyptian captivity, the Most High seen our affliction. See? And he did what? He delivered us. There's no difference except for, there's a remnant that's going to be saved this time. Verse 5, you have lived in pleasure on the earth and you have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. All right. So, that goes back to Esau's blessing. Let's get that. The book of Genesis 27. We're going to go down to verse 38. It started 38. Go right to the point. Genesis 27 and 38. And Esau said unto his father, "Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, "Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above." So the fatness represents what? Riches. All right. And riches can be in any form of precious metals. You can own cattle. Like if you're a cattle farmer, you own a cattle farm, you getting pretty good money. I see Edomites that are cattle farmers, man. You see about over 100 cattle on their farms. They're doing good. They got plenty of acres. It ain't just the only thing they have. They have the cattle and they have the different crops they grow. All right, and they have the money. They have the good grain, because they give the bad grain to Jake, so-called black farmers and Latino farmers. Verse 40, and by thy sword shalt thou live. And you better believe, when Esau sees somebody has resources that he could profit off of, and he's going to use the sword to get those resources. He's going to use that sword to get them resources. Believe that. All right, so again, you enjoy your blessing, all right, which is the richest, man. The Most High let you enjoy your blessing, all right. Let's go to Ecclesiastes, also known as Sirach, chapter 10, verse 8. It says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to the other. Yeah, so Esau, we can clearly see you getting your riches by deceit, man. Inflation, heavy taxes upon the people. All right. That's a deceitful way to gain riches. All right, that's why your society's coming to an end the way it is. All right. And still with your society coming to an end and you reaping up all these riches, hey, your main capital of your kingdom, which is Babylon the Great, so-called America, this place is in so much debt. And it speaks about that in Habakkuk, man. It speaks about him that laded himself with thick clay. The clay represents the debt. All right. Esau's in great debt. So that the elites of you is not going to erase that debt. All right. They're going to keep squeezing everything they can up out of this place. Because this place is the way they gain a lot of their riches, through America and its military. All right, that's the reason why the reason why they use the U.S. military to go around the earth and rape, rob, murder, and pillage these other countries. It's for resources. Wars are fought over resources, not no terrorism. And the Most High's going to repay you for that. All right, so with that, I'm gonna end it there. Lord willing, this video was edifying to those of you that may watch or tune in. And until the next video, I want to say shalom.